lectures by trying to look at employment versus self-employment. You want to ask me why the topic? You see, for every topic there is a linkage. Every topic here has a relationship with the last topic. You remember that we said that one of the income that will be liable to tax when we are talking about taxation of an individual is emolument. And there I explained that emolument is made up of your basic salary, your allowances, your bonuses, your benefit in kind. Remember? Now, your emolument is gotten from employment. It is because you are an employee of an establishment or company or outfit that you earn emolument. The linkage now here is this. What is employment? For you to be able to earn emolument, we must try to know what employment is all about. When are you an employee of a company? When are you an employee of an organization? That's what we're asking here. Alright? And if you're not an employee, you're not employed by a person or a company, then you will be a self-employed. So let's see the difference. Let's try to see the difference between employment and self-employment. Okay? Employment involves a contract of service. When you are an employee, you are entering into a contract of service. There's a contract of service between yourself and your employer. Alright? You have entered into a contract to carry out service, to do what is your employer asks you to do. But if you are self-employed, we say self-employment is or involves a contract for service, whereas self-employment, I have to do some correction here, is contract, okay, for services. Note the difference. There's a difference between contract of service, alright, here, and contract for service. In this case, self-employment, you are saying that you are going into a relationship between yourself and the other party to provide a service. The other party is asking you to provide a service. Okay? So that makes you a self-employed person. Now, let's look at the difference or the distinction between employment and self-employment in details. And we'll be looking at that under 1. The degree of control exercised over the person doing the work. This is a factor that determines whether a relationship is that of employment or employer-employee relationship, or a relationship of a supplier or a contractor and a client. Now, in the case of employment, your employer has absolute control over you as the employee. He exercises so much control over the employee. Take for example, he decides when you come to work. He decides when you close. Okay, work resumes by 8 a.m. sorry, and ends by 5 p.m. You see that in your employment letter. Right? He decides when you go on leave, when you take a break from work for a year. Right? He decides how much he pays you, and so on and so forth. You see here, there's a degree of control over the person. In that case, we are saying you are an employee. But if not, therefore means you are a contract for service. Take for example a contractor. The client or the person taking the services of a contractor, although have some control, but not as much as if the contractor was an employee. For example, the contractor decides when he will go to work. The contractor will tell you how long it will take him to finish the work. Because sometimes it could involve the services of a professional. So he should be able to tell you, look, it's going to take me a month or two to finish this work. So you don't decide for him. Alright? That's okay with degree of control. Let's look at whether he provides his own equipment. That's another factor to decide, to differentiate between employment and self-employment. For an employee who is in employment, in most cases, it is the employer that provides the equipment you use. Take a look at your office where you are. Your laptop, your computers, your photocopier, your chairs and tables are provided by your employer. Okay? So, that makes you an employee. But in the other case, the case of a contractor, he provides his equipment. He provides his equipment. Okay? Now, whether he can work when he chooses, I think we have talked about that up here when I told you, in the case of a contractor or a supplier, he decides when he wants to go to work, he decides how long it will take him to do the work, he decides when to end the work. But if it was an employee, it is your employer that chooses when to start work, when to end the work, what volume of work you should do, when you should submit your report. Take for example, accounts. So accountants or accounts clerks, account supervisors, you could be told to submit your monthly account. You could be told to submit your account, some sort of account, weekly. Right? That's to show the relationship between you and your employer. In that case, you're an employee. Okay? Now, what degree of financial risk it takes? What degree of financial risk a person takes will determine whether he is an employee or is out for a contract for service. The contractor takes more financial risk than the employee. What do I mean? For an employee, practically there's no financial risk, because at the end of the month you are sure of your salary. Right? For the contractor, the financial risk could be in the form of loss of revenue. Loss of revenue. Take for example, you are asked to maybe make a supply or carry out a contract, and what you were required to supply or what you supply was not in terms with what you were required to supply. There were variances, and your client is saying he cannot pay for what he does not want. In that case, because you want to continue to be in business, you will be expected to bear the financial risk of losing such amount of money from the contract. Okay? So these are the factors that we consider when we want to differentiate between employment and self-employment. Did you get it? And I've also told you the reasons why we have to look at this point. Right?